Welcome to How St. Patrick Arrived in Ireland. My name is Valerie McGrew, local San Francisco historian and volunteer at the Patrick J. Dowling Library, which is located at the United Irish Cultural Center of San Francisco. This is a recording of a presentation made at the Zoom meeting of the Irish Marvels Past and Present on March 13, 2021. The Irish Marvels, a history roundtable, normally meets at the center on the second Saturday of the month. A farmer looks up from tending his small flock of sheep on Innisfada and sees a ship flying the skull and crossbones tacking into the wind. As it sails around the island and up the inlet to Limpkin, William Hull, land pirate and son of the former mayor of Exeter, stands on the quay looking very much the English gentleman, ready to transact business with the captain of the pirate ship. After exchanging the plunder for gold and goods necessary to support life on the ship, Hull invites the crew for a toddy at the local pub. Some accept, others prefer the entertainment at the Bawdy House up the street. So it was in West Cork, Ireland, in the early 1600s, Pirate Central. It is probably not surprising that an island nation with secluded inlets up and down the west coast would be Pirate Central for over 14 centuries. Even in the midst of mythical Ireland, a supernatural race, the Fomorians, were associated with sea raiders. They were portrayed as gods who represented the harmful or destructive power of nature. Like pirates, they personified chaos and darkness. Sea raiders traveled to and from Ireland. The Scotai, as the Irish were called by the Romans, terrorized the coast of Britain. Around 795 AD, the Vikings first sailed up the Irish rivers in their fear-inspiring longships. They came to plunder and remained to build the great cities of Ireland like Cork and Dublin, only to be forced out by the Irish at the Battle of Clonturk in 1014. The saga of the pirates persisted for centuries more. The powerful sea merchant families like the O'Driscolls of Kinsale and the O'Malleys of Clune, County Clare, engaged in pirate activities when it served their purposes. The apex was reached in the 1600s. Land pirates like William Hull dominated society in West Cork, using the local community for cheap labor to move cargo. It is rumored locally that farmers to this day till the land not far from where their ancestors carried the ill-gotten gains from the vessels to Hull's storage houses. Corsairs from the Barbary Coast stormed the town of Baltimore and enslaved over 100 residents. They were carried off to the Mediterranean on that terrible night of June 20th, 1631. The story goes on. Cork famously exported notorious pirates like Anne Bonny to the Caribbean. Privateers commissioned by Benjamin Franklin harried the Belfast area during the American Revolution. The most consequential pirate story of all, assuredly, is how Patrick arrives in Ireland. The Sukhots, a Roman-British patrician family, were probably living in Wales during the 5th century. They were experiencing all the stresses of civic unrest and social upheaval. Under the protection of the Roman armies, they and other members of their social class had enjoyed 400 years of prosperity and were more Roman than British culturally, with their lovely villas, roads, and aqueducts. Now the Roman troops had abandoned them to their fates, when the armies were forced to leave Britain forever to return to the homeland to protect Rome itself from the barbarians at their gates. The Roman retreat left them almost defenseless to the onslaught of the northern tribes like the Saxons and the Scotai across the Irish Sea. They were forced out of the cities to the rural states to find what protection they could. If Maewyn Suitcott was a typical 16-year-old, it is doubtful that he was overly cautious when he went out on that fateful day. He had the misfortune to encounter a band of Scotai raiders. According to legend, the Scotai had been commissioned by Neil of the Nine Hostages to raid the coast of Wales, seeking hostages to work as slaves. Although the term of Scotai eventually would chiefly refer to the people of northern Britain, basically modern-day Scotland, during this period, it was the Roman name for all Celtic tribes in Ireland and Britain. Maewyn was seized and tossed into the ship's hull and transported to Ireland. Ludwig Bieler's The Life and Legend of St. Patrick informs us that he was taken to Mount Slemish in County Antrim, where he watched over the flocks of either a druid or a chieftain. For 6 or 7 long years, this young man of privilege led the solitary life of a shepherd. Although the son of a deacon and the grandson of a priest in his youth, he had not been a believer. This life-changing experience brought about a great religious conversion. Ultimately, Maewyn heard a voice in his dreams which told him to escape. He absconded to Wexford, found passage, and eventually was restored to his family. From Wales, he traveled to a monastery in Europe, where he was trained as a priest. 3 separate dreams called him to missionary work. The most notable was one in which the voice of the Irish called to him, "Holy youth, come again and walk among us." As you all know, Maewyn, or Patrick, as he was now dubbed, returned to Ireland to play a key role in the conversion of the island to Christianity. This Roman Briton would become one of the 3 patron saints of Ireland, along with Bridget and Columba. Irishmen of the diaspora would spread his name everywhere they traveled, from Montana to Auckland. Each March 17th, green lights up the world, and everyone is Irish for a day, and remember Patrick. The primary resource for this presentation is author Des Aiken's work on the subject of Pirates of Ireland. His article in the Irish Times, May 8, 2018, outlines the 14th century long story. Ireland's Pirate Trail delves into the matter with much greater detail.